Welcome to the Fishery Fastlane podcast. We're at Plumpton College and I'm joined with Arron Standing of Coarse Fish UK. I've heard a lot about you, Arron, through the industry when we go to various fisheries, and your name gets mentioned a lot. You obviously supplied a lot of venues that we've been to, but you're not very loud on social media, so it obviously shows that you're very good at what you do and integrity with your farming. Now, I like to always start these podcasts understanding a little bit about your backstory, how you got to where you got to. So I'll hand over to you to introduce what you do and how you got there.
Right. Okay. Well, I went to Sparshot straight from school when I was 16. I think it was 92. I went to Sparshot and I was there for a few years. And then originally I wanted to be a river keeper. And then when I left Sparshot, I realised there aren't really any river keepers in West Sussex or near where I live. And I kind of drifted in to aquatics. And I bought, I worked for a chap and he sent me out to Israel initially to buy koi. And I didn't like that very much. So then we went out to Japan and started going to Japan once a year. And then unfortunately my boss was really ill and he passed away.
Right.
And so I bought the business from his family and then I sort of focused more.
This is an ornamental business.
An ornamental business,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I focused more on the koi. It was quite a large shop in a garden centre. We had tropical fish and reptiles and everything.
Right. How old were you at this stage?
I bought the business when I was 20.
Oh, really?
I went to Israel when I was 16.
Right.
And then I first went to Japan when I was 17 or 18, I think. So I was still at Sparshot, but working weekends in the shop. And
Blimey.
And then, so then once I bought the business, I focused more on Japanese koi and I started going twice a year and then 3 times a year. Once or twice I went 4 times a year and that really grew. But I always wanted to do the fish farming because I was a keen carp angler and, fish for everything really, all coarse species. And so then I started renting a small fish farm with another chap. Which was in a place called Cerney near Fernhurst, just down the road from Donald Leamy's place.
Right.
And we had, it was only a small fish farm. We did tench and we did Leamy carp up to sort of 3 years old. And then we had no room to grow them any further. So then they would be sold off.
Right.
And then then I had the koi business for about 18 years and that got really quite big. I think I had the biggest single shipment of koi into the UK. At one point, I supplied about 26 other koi shops.
Really?
I judged the All Japan show. I think I was the youngest judge ever to judge the biggest fish show in the world.
Wow.
And then what happened? Well, then around about 2008, we had the credit crunch and all that, and people, the sort of the koi industry started to shrink a little, and I was getting more interested in the fish farming.
Right.
So in 2010, I shut the business down, and then I expanded the coarse farm. I got at Nepcastle Estate, started renting all the lakes at Nepcastle.
Right.
Which is like 50 odd acres of water.
Right.
And that's where I inherited the castle carp fish, which were Les Bamford's fish from Redmire, was stocked into Nepcastle. Les used to have a business called Castle Carp for a while where he would bring fish from Redmire, juvenile fish, and grow them at Nepcastle. I mean, the big lake's 27 acres, and that would be drained. That was drained, and Les stocked that with fish from Redmire.
Okay. And they're still existing now?
Yeah, when I took over, it had been left for about a decade.
Right.
And so when I first took over, I drained that lake and netted it. I think we had 11,500 pounds in weight of carp from that lake.
How big's the lake?
27 acres.
Oh, right. Big water.
Yeah. And they were, all commons, all Redmire commons, basically, and a few mirrors, which is where the population's just been breeding wild. It breeds the mirrors out. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And they now seed the production of what you produce today is from that
some of those fish. Yeah. So I kept some of the younger fish to breed from. I had another branch of Leanies that I got from Steve Mugridge, which was the first fish farm I rented, which was just like I say near Fernhurst, and his father was friends with Donald Leaney, and so he had Leanies. I had some from there, I had some from Net, and then I started crossing the Leanies with other.
Was Leaney still in operation when at this stage? Was he?
No,
Okay,
no.
Right.
That was done.
Yeah.
So,
And did you still have the site up where his original?
yeah, I was still renting that as well for a while.
Yeah,
but that got sold off in the end.
So I looked at your website, and there's over 12 species that you're listed on your website that you supply. So when did you start to diversify your species into?
Well, on the first fish farm, we just did tench, golden tench, and carp. We even did English bred koi for a little while as well. I've got another site near Arundel, and that started off with one pond, and then within about 3 or 4 years, there's 17 ponds there now. So that's when I started to diversify. So we do crusions, we do a bit of everything really.
Did you coming from an ornamental background then? Did you recognise that there was an opportunity in perhaps the sport fisheries market for coarse fish, or how did it come about?
I think the main reason I went into doing coarse fish was because that was primarily my interest, and I kind of fell into the aquatic side of it. But coarse fish and carp was really what I really wanted to do.
Right.
But obviously, I was very young. I didn't have a lot of financial backing, so I had to sort of progress as I. Yeah. So.
It's in my understanding of the ornamental market that you can import these ornamentals with a lot less. Is the paperwork is just as strict as it's how I understand it. That people that introduce koi into lakes that potentially come in without the cleanliness that potentially that we're regulated for as coarse fish farmers, the health checks we have to go through in the screening before we can stock our fish and getting health checks. Is there the same amount of legislation to screen ornamental fish coming in? Like this, I guess we're talking back when you used to do that. I don't know.
I mean, basically you have to have an import license, but the fish, and I don't think the fish there's no health check as such.
Right.
And certainly when the fish do come from abroad, they are covered in parasites and
right.
And obviously KHV is a Japanese disease.
Yeah.
It was made worse by the Israelis, I think. A lot worse. But yeah, no, there's no health checks on those fish that are coming in. But because those fish are supposed to just end up in an ornamental garden pond, which are offline, enclosed, I think that's the reason behind it.
What do you do to combat that when they are coming in riddled of all sorts? Is there a treatment process?
Every koi dealer, but it's basically koi. You compared to a carp, if you can keep koi carp alive, keeping carp and coarse fish alive is a piece of cake.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, there's lots of procedures you have to do when you import a koi. They come in a bag. The ammonia's through the roof. The fish are not in a good way. Right. They're generally absolutely covered in parasites. The breeders don't treat them before they send them. Right. They just come out the mud pond and
there we go.
They send them straight over. So the fish are stressed and then the parasites multiply.
Okay.
So yeah, you have to treat them with lots of different things, lots of processes before.
So we are right to have that concern then when you see people. I get it all the time when you have a farmer that's excited to tell you that he's welcomed somebody's koi from their ornamental pond into their fishery, and you just roll your eyes and you try and tell them, but that's excited to tell everybody that.
It's virtually so many lakes have got some koi in where people have just emptied their garden pond into there when they've moved house or but I think KHV's been here for so long. I mean, when I was 16 years old, we used to import fish from Israel. My old boss used to import fish from Israel, and after 10 days, they'd fall to pieces and they'd all die. And in those days, we called it Israeli disease.
Yeah.
And he would ring up the company and say, "Oh, these all died." And they're like, "Oh, sorry," and they would just send more. Right. So they obviously knew there was an issue. And then a few years later, they come out with this term KHV.
Yeah.
So it was coming into the country before it even had a name.
Would you agree though that fish carry KHV and live a healthy life, a long life, and it's the stresses that make them come symptomatic?
100% the stress that obviously being a koi dealer in the past, you have a pretty good understanding of
Yeah.
KHV,
Yeah.
and yeah, I would say probably 80% of lakes have already got it,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least. But a lot of lakes would never, without that trigger, you could
Yeah.
have it in the lake forevermore, and without that stress trigger and the temperature, being above 18,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen.
You see a lot in match fisheries, how they stock hybrids like F1s to try and get around this susceptibility to KHV, and it's kind of the wrong way of dealing with it, because you're loading fish into an ecosystem which is overstocking it and adding stress, which is going to make your other fish become symptomatic. Maybe your common carp, your mirror carp.
I think there's other viruses as well, aren't there? There's there's GHV, goldfish herbivirus. There's it's there. It's underlying in most places, I would say.
Yeah. So we're in West Sussex. Is that right? Have I got that right?
Yeah. Sussex. Yeah.
We're in this part of the world. There's obviously, you've got VS Fisheries up the road. So how do you manage to keep your hand in and supply so many fisheries when you've got that giant on your doorstep that's also sharing the market with you?
I mean, I'm quite lucky. I've got a few lots of regular customers. I've got a couple of big customers that have quite a big budget every year.
Yeah.
And we're not not the biggest fish farm. Never will be. We produce a fair amount of fish, but
you're growing, aren't you?
We're expanding. Yeah. We bought some land recently, and we're digging a few more. We're always digging ponds.
Yeah.
I never make any money. I just spend it digging ponds. But
yeah, that makes me feel better. It's the same though with every livelihood, isn't it? If it comes down to cash and money and profit, then it's probably not the right option for you, because you've got to enjoy it.
You've got to enjoy
any farming, isn't it? But yeah, do you see then that there is more opportunity? Is there more growth there? Is there more sales that you think? Is there more demand, I guess is the question.
I think it's getting a bit harder because there's more and more people coming into the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't just do carp, so I diversify a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And some of my fish are just I do a few things that are a bit different. Okay. Like I do a few ghosties.
Yeah.
And not many places do ghosties. And you're just doing pure leanies as well. And
to throw a ghostie, then would that be using an ornamental fish to?
Years ago I spawned an All Japan winning platinum ogron, which was, I think it was 14,000 quid at the time. Right. And these big expensive fish, before you would ship them to the UK, because I was doing really high end koi, they would take a gill snippet from the live fish. They would be tested in Japan, right. And they would also, the farms do need to be tested in Japan for KHV,
right?
But they, as far as health checks go, parasites and things, they're not tested for that. But the farms are tested for KHV in Japan,
right? Okay.
And how accurate those tests are, I don't know. But
right.
When you buy very expensive fish, what we used to do is take a gill snippet, have it tested independently in Germany, and if it was clear, we'd ship the fish.
Okay.
And I basically borrowed a fish from a good friend of mine that had the gills had been tested for KHV, and I crossed. Right. So I crossed this platinum ogron with a pure red mile common, and that's the one. And all my ghosties descend from that.
Okay. Yeah. And you use a hatchery as part of your facilities, isn't it?
Yeah. So I use a hatchery. I strip the fish. I don't use Zuga jars. I do it fairly old school. I hormonize the fish. I strip the fish, and I put the eggs onto brushes, on spawning ropes and cages, and I do it that way. And you still get millions and millions of.
So if fish are to naturally recruit within your ponds, would you bring them through as well, or do you select just the fish from the hatchery?
From a genetics point of view, it's best not to rely on self-spawners, because obviously on the farm you should really only be putting 1 year class in each pond. So, and that 1 year class, a lot of those will be brothers and sisters. Yeah, I mean, depending on how many females and males you used in the spawning, but a lot of those fish are related. So if you'll get a lot more glass carp, which is a sign of fish breeding in on themselves, and and obviously there's no real selection if they're sort of wild spawning. Yeah. Whereas I like to select fish with characteristics that I want. I like to be a bit more selective, really.
Yeah. Okay. And will you use your hatchery to produce your other species, or are they naturally recruited?
So I let the green tench, I just let naturally spawn. The gold tench I strip, and the crucians I naturally spawn, and then some of the other species like hide and things I'll strip.
Yeah, because there's not many coarse fish suppliers in the UK. There's obviously lots of carp suppliers. Do you find demand for your other species because of that, do you think?
Yeah, I think it helps sometimes because people, they don't always just want carp.
No.
So if they've got one supplier that just does carp, but they also want some crucians and some tench,
Yeah,
they might think, well, we'll go with that chap because we can get it all in one place on one delivery or whatever. So
do you think that cormorants help to keep the other species in demand?
Yeah, they probably do. I mean, but to be honest, the market for roach and silverfish is going down and down and down because people realise that they're just feeding cormorants basically, and it actively encourages the cormorants to come back again.
Yeah,
because they'll say, "Oh, we had loads of cormorants, we haven't got any now," and that's basically because the cormorants have eaten everything and moved on, and then they restock with a ton of roach, and all the cormorants come back.
Yeah,
and then the roach are gone again. So more and more now, people are asking for cormorant-proof fish,
right,
so to speak. But with roach and rudd, they're never going to be cormorant-proof. And with crucians, you know, nobody's really doing crucians over £1 on a fish farm, and they're not cormorant-proof. So
with cormorants becoming more and more of an issue, it seems the numbers seem to be growing and growing every year, even creeping into the summer months when traditionally you'd see cormorants mostly through the winter, but more and more so through the summer and all year round. Do you think we'll be in a time eventually where fish like tench become a rare species, a big tench, because the tench that we're seeing that are big now are probably very old from a time where cormorants weren't quite such an issue. But now, when we're seeing more and more cormorants come in and are nailing those juvenile tench, getting them to a cormorant-proof size takes some growing, doesn't it? I know on your website it says that your tench are the fastest growing, so maybe you've got something there.
Well, I think they are. Yeah, I think they probably are. I mean, I've put a lot of effort into breeding tench, and that was what I've started off with as well. The first fish farm. I think a lot of farms tench are a bit of almost like a byproduct, or they don't put as much effort to the breeding as they would with their carp, for instance. So every year I select out from every spawning of tench, I select like 25 to 50 tench, and they'll be reserved brood stock and the absolute fastest growing ones. And then I change my brood stock every 3 years with the tench. So I'm only breeding from young fish.
Right.
So I can get a tench from 1 inch to 10 inches in one summer.
Wow.
That's 2 summers for most places, I would say. So I grow them up to sort of £3 odd on the farm reasonably quickly.
Do you think they're cormorant proof for that size, a tench?
A £2.5 tench, they would pick up and drop and kill it anyway.
Yeah.
They can't quite get them down generally.
Yeah.
And they will end up killing them. A £3 tench seems to be, they could just about make it, but they will grab them, but they seem to be okay.
Yeah, because they seem to recruit naturally in gravel pits and things. If we're electrofishing enough zapping, they tend to slowly come out of the weed, don't they? So they obviously recruit quite well in weedy waters, but it just makes you wonder whether they're going to naturally recruit and get past the cormorant proof size in pits like that where they're naturally got a heavy predation of cormorants.
I think heavy, large reed beds seem to be the key.
Yeah.
I mean, we had an issue at Knepp where they were going to desilt the main lake at Knepp, so we drained it one year, and then the contractors decided the silt was too deep, so they couldn't do it. So they told me to refill the pond. So we refilled it in the summer. It had hardly any rain, so it had this much, like a foot of water in 27 acres, and basically every seed that had ever landed in there germinated, and the whole 27 acres just looked like a field of grass.
Right.
And we got about an extra, and then we flooded it in the winter. We had an extra sort of 15 acres of reeds.
Right.
Anyway, so when I finally restocked the lake, I had some big adult tench, and I thought I'll just put 12 tench in there to see what happens. With all, there's like 500 carp, and I put 12 tench in, and I only drained that lake every 2 years. And 2 years later, I drained it, and we must have had 60,000 6 to 8 inch, 8 to 10 inch tench.
Yeah.
And that was just from those dozen tench. But
Yeah.
they must have spawned really well, and all the babies just lived in those reed mass. And they have 150 cormorants roost on that lake.
Right.
So
did you have carp in there?
Yeah.
Right. How did the carp do with that, the reed beds like that?
The carp always, because the lake's very shallow, it's due to be desilted.
Yeah.
So the deepest part of the lake's maybe 3.5 feet.
Right.
So it's a very wide, it's very hot. So it gets really warm and the carp grow like mad.
It's one of the things we talk about with fisheries that have got big, is it Norfolk reed beds? Is it Norfolk reed?
It's bulrushes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, when you get like a big Norfolk reed bed, and it tends to be like where the fish want to go when it's hot, but also the breeding ground for argillus, like your fish lice tend to find it very easy to reproduce and find a host in places that are overrun with Norfolk reed. That's what I asked a question about, whether the carp did any good in there. But it's interesting that the tent seem to do well in an environment like that. I'm Ben Pinniger, and I'm your podcast host. For those of you that don't know me, my business is called BP Milling, where I specialise in producing plant-based pellets for fisheries that break down fast. I farm my own carp entirely on my pellets, and you can see me doing exactly that over on my BP Milling YouTube channel. So if you're enjoying the Fishery Fastlane content and you haven't discovered the BP Milling YouTube channel, then there is loads more content like this, where we deep dive on the science behind running fisheries, how to run fisheries in a healthy way, and how I farm my carp. There's loads of video over there of me doing exactly that. If you're interested in finding out a little bit more about my pellets, we have an online shop where you can purchase the feeds directly, delivered to you in bulk or in single bag quantities at www.bpmilling.co.uk. Do cormorants cause you any trouble on the farm? Do you have to net ones?
On the farm, which is near Arundel, everything's netted.
Okay.
So we've got 17 lakes there. The biggest ones are over an acre, but even those are netted as well.
Right.
So all my juvenile fish are done under nets.
Yeah.
And then once they're kind of cormorant proof, if you like, then they go out, and I rent various estate lakes in West Sussex, and I've got sort of satellite places. So I've got over 100 acres of water altogether.
Yeah. Wow.
So basically from big C2s can go out, because the big C2s are over £4 generally. So they can go out. C3s can go out. So basically anything up to C2 or C3 is on the farm.
Yeah.
And then they go out.
Is there, when you get to a size like that, where you've got so many waters that perhaps you're renting and that are all over the place, is there a pressure then to sell fish to make it all viable? It must feel like you're being chased when you've got so much water. And
it is.
Is there a pressure?
I mean, the overheads are quite, because I rent the vast majority of my sites. I own some of them, but the overheads are quite high. So you do need to sell quite a few fish. I mean, we're quite lucky. Like I say, we've got a few big customers and regulars. We get a lot of return custom. So we normally sell out of our fish a few months before harvest. And it's been like that for several years now. So.
Yeah, because there's a fine line, isn't there? If you undersell and you take excess fish into the following year and you're overstocked, they need more food, water quality's at a bit of a premium, oxygen's in high demand. And if you go the other way and you sell too many, then often you get weed and the fish don't perform. So there's obviously a happy balance somewhere in the middle that I imagine is quite hard to strike on the scale that you're doing things. But
it can be, yeah. I mean, I'm quite lucky. I have a lot of contacts in the aquatic trade as well. So like if I have excess, like C1s, for instance, or like self-spawners like we were talking about before, I don't really grow on the self-spawners, but a lot of my fish, those kind of fish will go into the ornamental trade.
Right.
Because they, a lot of carp fishermen like to have one or two carp in with their koi and things like that. So I sell thousands of juvenile fish to various aquatic wholesalers and things.
Another question I've got is, does your name is Coarse Fish UK, does that find you more business? Because obviously you're up against people at so-and-so fisheries, having a very searchable name. Does that bring in cold clients that are perhaps Googling for?
I think so. I mean, we have a lot. We deliver all over the country. So we do have quite a lot of customers. In York, we have lots of customers in Yorkshire for some reason.
Right.
But all over. So it does, I suppose the title sort of helps with that, because we will deliver just about anywhere.
It says what it is on the tin, isn't it? I just think it's a very searchable name. I just wondered if it did bring in business, having that so obvious. But And is it just you, Arron, or do you have other staff working with you?
So it's just me and my son, but he's off to Spa Shop at the moment.
All right.
Doing his degree.
Yeah.
And I have one full-time member of staff, myself, and then we have lots of fishery students to help in the winter. We kind of get by like that. I think I'm going to take on another full-timer fairly soon, especially now my son's away at Spa Shop. He can only help a couple of times a week, so it's a bit of a stretch.
He's obviously just as keen then to take it on and doing what you're doing.
He's very keen.
It's promising. And what's the relationship with Plumpton College? Do you just take their work experience lads? Is it?
So I can't remember how we met, Dan, but it was a long time ago now. So I have quite a lot of students from them. When I do the big jobs, Dan will come and bring the whole, lots of them.
Yeah.
And then I generally have, 3 or 4 every week as well.
Right.
A lot of those then go on to Spa Shop. So some of the lads like Jensen and various other lads that I've seen them for sort of 6 years. They've gone to Plumpton, then they go to Spa Shop, and so I've known them quite a long time. By the time they actually graduate, I've known them for like 5 or 6 years sometimes.
Do you notice that their enthusiasm is just as rich when they finish after a few years of harvesting? Or
like I say, it's one of those jobs you've got to enjoy it. So quite often I start off with quite a few students. And within a few months, it's kind of been whittled down to like 1 or 2.
Yeah, I know when I was at college, and like that was the best job I can imagine was farming carp, and I can imagine the first week or 2, and after that, when it's rinse and repeat every single day, does it become like a little bit of a God, I want this to end now? It's the same when I work with Andrew and we're traveling the country to fisheries as a consultancy service, and the start of the season you're itching to get going and you're really enjoying it, and by sort of Christmas time you're looking to when the end's coming, and it certainly feel a bit like that every year, and you're looking back to getting into making feed again and selling more feed. But I just didn't know if it was the same what you do. But so what is demand like for the other species? You've even got stickleback listed on your website. Did you ask for them?
I sell loads of sticklebacks, but I tend to sell those again to the aquatic industry.
What I'm not for this. They're for tanks.
Just sell them for fish tanks. Okay. They are a byproduct because we just get millions of those on the farm. Right.
And they're coming to you an online. Is it an online sort of feeder stream or something that's bringing?
Some of the sites are online. Some of them are offline.
Right.
Yeah. They're the place in Arundel. It's all fed by springs that come. It's right next to the South Downs National Park. So we're on clay, but the springs actually boil out through the gravel and the chalk in the couple of fields away, and it just pours up and comes through the fish farm and then discharges into salt water, into the River Arron in salt water. So there's no chance of if any fish were to escape, they would go straight into salt water anyway. So but we're really lucky on that site because they were going to put a bottling plant in for mineral water because the water's that good.
Really?
But they couldn't get planning for the bottling plant. But I mean, we get ribbonweed and starwort growing in some of our ponds.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like Evian coming out of the ground and going through the fish farm. So that helps.
Yeah. Does it naturally stay colder than the UK average? Do you think, being that fresh?
Well, I can limit what I'm using, but the stream, if you like, is constant temperature because it literally it comes out of the ground, a few hundred yards away, and it is. If we ever have to go in there to clean strainers and things, it's absolutely freezing, even in the middle of summer. Right. But there's only a small amount going through the ponds.
And we've just come out of the driest summer for some time. How has that provided challenges for you on your farm? Lack of water?
Not really, not on that one. No. I mean, the lakes at Knepp, they're all spring fed as well, and they run all summer. Even if it's just a trickle, you've still got that little bit of turnover. I did notice my place near Arundel, the springs were much lower this year than I've ever seen them. Right. And the chap who runs a trout fishery up the road phoned me up and his spring stopped. And that's never stopped. Right. And he's been there for like 30 odd years and it's never stopped completely. Okay. But you do wonder with all the housing and stuff that's being built, where all the water's going.
Yeah, it has been a busy summer on the phone with people ringing up with panics of algae and oxygen, and And I didn't know if it was the same for you.
But
but I guess-
we did have a few algae crashes,
right.
which we dealt with, but
Yeah.
more. I think we had more this year actually. Algae
Yeah.
crashes.
Is this intense, long, dry spell then? Is that good for your harvest? Is it good for your yield? Are you excited
I think
about
it's been a good growing season. I think it's been a good for what I've seen so far. It's been good. I mean, we netted some C6s the other day just to have
Right.
a look. They're not due to be harvested for another year, hopefully when they're 30s, and a lot of them are like £26
Wow. Yeah.
already, so that's good.
Yeah.
And we took the opportunity to take out about 60,000 C1s that naturally spawned
Yeah.
in the pond because you don't want them in there.
Is the demand for big fish good still? Or?
I think so. Yeah, we don't do masses of big fish. I've got like 80 30s this winter.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all sold, but that's quite a bumper amount of 30s for me.
Yeah.
Maybe 40 fish would be about normal.
Yeah.
But because I'm harvesting my big lake at Nepp, I only do that alternate years. So
right. Because you see more and more now fish farmers being more transparent and honest that the big fish that then don't do as well. They don't, when you introduce a big fish that's quite mature, they don't generally transition as well as a younger fish. And I just wondered if that had that honesty that fish farmers seem to be having in recent times, whether that's impacted the demand for big fish. But I think it'll always be there. I always get phone calls for big fish. I don't really go much bigger than C4 or C5, but I didn't know if there are still people looking for.
Yeah, I think there's always will be people that want big fish, instant big fish.
Right.
When people phone me up and ask for a 30-pounder, the first thing I say to them is, "Have you already got 30-pounders?" And if they say yes, I'm like, "Well, you don't need 30-pounders, then, do you?"
Yeah.
Don't buy 30s if you've already got them. It's different if they're setting up a business and they're looking for some target fish and they've maybe taken over the fishery and they want to advertise fish to over £30 and they haven't got any, then perhaps from a business point of view, it's good. They're the kind of people that might need those bigger fish to draw in custom. But I generally say to people, if you've got fish over 30, don't buy them. You're much better off buying younger fish, letting them come through. Obviously, you don't get the drop on the weight and like you can do with the bigger fish.
Yeah.
I don't suffer quite so badly, I think, on weight drop as some other places possibly, because our fish are in big estate lakes and they're only fed sort of 2 or 3 times a week by hand. So they're living a kind of wild existence.
Right.
So they know where to find the naturals. They know how to be a carp. I'm fairly low. I've got a lot of acreage, but the amount of fish compared, is very low.
I think it's quite good advice for people to understand that the environment you're introducing them to needs to be better than the one they've come from, so that they're going to have a positive progression from there thereafter. But is a fish of that size, is it a price sensitive market, would you say, or are they buying from you because your stock have done well?
I mean, I'm certainly not the cheapest for my fish, but we, like I said, we always manage to sell them. But I suppose, every farm, the fish are a bit different. So sometimes people say, "Oh, I can get such and such from here," and my response is, "Well, they're not the same fish. So this is the price of my fish." And but they're pretty comparable to other places. But
And why would the fishery or the waters that you look after, why would you rather run them as fish production facility rather than a fishery?
Well, people can be a pain in the backside, can't they? I mean, most people are all right, but when you have like when you speak to the general public individually, everyone's nice, but as a whole, they can be. I think there was one lake that I was planning to turn into a syndicate at some point.
Right.
Maybe I'll do that when I'm getting near to retire, but I'll probably never retire.
No, still enjoying it?
Yeah, I'll just keep going until I drop, probably. But,
do you get stuck in with the netting and all the to do?
Yeah. If you don't use it, you lose it then. So,
that's true. Got to stay active.
I think I'll keep going as long as I can.
Do you the other species that you supply, do you keep them all separate, or is it like a monoculture sort of systems that you'll have set ponds for set species?
They're all separate. So each species is in its own pond. Each year class is in their own pond.
Right.
So it's very rarely there's any mix of species.
So carp would make up predominantly the species that you're selling the most of. Are they sort of what you focus your time and efforts in selling as a fish farm?
Yeah, obviously carp are going to be a big part of the business.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never actually worked it out, but it's probably 70%, something like that, 75%.
And how many brood fish are you using in your hatchery to produce the fish that you need?
I tend to change my brood stock quite a lot.
Okay.
I don't use the same. I very rarely use the same brood fish more than once.
Why is that?
I just like to mix things up a bit. I like to use young fish because they're more fertile.
Yeah.
And I like to keep the strain moving on and progressing. So, yeah, very rarely I use a female fish more than once.
Right.
The males probably get used more often than females.
Right.
And quite often because they get, apart from the fact they're getting older, they're getting quite big as well. So I tend to use I use 4-year-old females and 3 or 4-year-old males. Occasionally I use a 5-year-old female, but generally I'm using very young fish.
And are you fertilizing at the traditional time of year, or do you go early?
No, I do it end of May, first week of June.
Right.
So I don't really bother to do it early.
Right.
I personally think that in the long run, it doesn't make too much difference. I mean, the best sea ones come out 8 to 10 inches.
Yeah.
Which is
that's what you want.
All you need, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, every year I probably use 2 or 3 females.
Right.
I mean, last year I think I used three females and 18 males.
Right.
So I use a lot. So I'll strip the females into maybe 3 bowls, and I use 2 males in that one, 2 males in that one. So I get a real mixture of scale patterns and.
Yeah. We spoke about the use of the Redmar strain. Are they predominantly what you use in your brood fish, or is there other so that you add to the mix?
Yeah, so predominantly most of my brood stock are leanies, or descendants.
Not Redmar, sorry, yeah. You're right, leanies.
Yeah, leanies, yeah. So basically I started off with pure leanies, and then I basically I've crossed those with various other things over the years. When I first started, I bought some fish from John at Fisher's Pond. Yeah. And I crossed those in. I've crossed in some Sutton fish. Basically my main strain is Sussex, what I call Sussex scalies, and they are a blend of various fish I've picked up along the way that I like the characteristics of. The only thing that I breed in now, I don't breed anything else in now except leanie. So I would say you can't really work it out like that, but I would say my fish are probably 80% genetically, 80% leanie, if you could put it that way.
Okay.
But I don't tend to, now I've got other characteristics in the strain. I won't breed any other fish in now except for like a pure leanie.
Is there like a certain characteristic you'll look for in brood fish, or are you happy just to accept that it's got the genetics you want?
I mean, what I was trying to create, or what I am still creating, is I'm trying to create fish that have a proper body shape. I'm not too keen on short, stocky fish, really. I like the fish to have a natural, a long, a good frame. I think that comes from the koi side of things as well. I want, when you're judging a koi, the first thing you look at is body shape. Yeah. And then the pattern is last. It's the least important thing. So I kind of put that into the way I breed carp. So I'm looking for a proper looking carp. I'm trying to create fish that are attractive, have longevity, which is really important, and obviously grow fast as well. Yeah. This thing that leanies don't grow, it's just not true. I mean, all the strains out there, they grow at a pretty similar rate, really. It's all down to selective breeding. If you're selecting the faster growing fish to breed from, your strain is going to get faster over time. Yeah. And the thing about leanies is they live such a long time as well. Yeah. Some of the food fish strains, you're lucky to get 15 years out of those. Yeah. And the leanie crosses, they'll go 25, 30, even more. Right. And then the pure leanies, well, we all know they can go 60 years.
Yeah.
So
Do you think that's a genetic thing, or?
well, leanies are they're Galician fish,
Yeah.
so they're wild fish from Europe, basically. And whatever we do, it's never going to compare to what nature does. So everything we breed in, nature tries to breed out.
Right.
And those leanie fish that Donald Leany was going over and buying were basically wild Belgian and other European strains. So that is how nature intended them to be, and they're genetically the strongest fish you're going to get.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to breed. Having those genes in your fish, is a good way to go.
Yeah. Okay. And you said earlier that your client base is made up of some solid big clients that are quite loyal to you. Are you involved with them on a level deeper than just supplying fish? Do you supply services to them? Or
I do netting work for them. Like one of my big customers at the moment, they're having to remove a lot of catfish from their waters.
Right.
They didn't put them in, but they were there when they purchased all the gravel pits and things. And the EA have said, you need to get these out. But some of these lakes are completely unnettable, so they're basically fishing them out, and I'm having to turn up 2 or 3 times a week and remove them. I had to get my license changed to take cats onto one of my sites, which I wasn't interested in doing. Yeah, but I did it for them because they're good customers of mine, so I'm helping them out. So
is that a breeding population as well? So you're constantly cropping them?
Yeah, I mean, we're just. This summer has been a bit of a nightmare, really. But we're getting there. We've taken, I don't know, 100 odd cats out.
Have you?
Of this particular complex.
Average size of them?
70.
Are they?
Yeah, we've had some 90s. We've had 85s.
What do you do with them?
Basically they get moved on to customers that have got the proper paperwork, that are offline, and they've got the ILFA license.
Are they in demand? Do people want that ILFA license to get?
There are some good cat waters around. I think generally cats are becoming less popular in carp fisheries, for obvious reasons. So there are a lot of places that want to get rid of them. There's probably more places that want to get rid of them than want to receive them. I mean, the price of catfish is, they're pretty.
I wouldn't know.
They're pretty worthless.
They're
not worth a lot of money. Years ago, I think catfish were expensive. When they were an oddity, and perhaps people weren't supposed to even be having them. But now, a £70 cat, you might get £4 a pound for it. Right. If it was imagine if it was £70 carp, how much it would be worth. But catfish, most people want to get rid of them, and so the price is fairly non-existent.
And they have to go into quite unique circumstances, don't they, with being offline, and they can't just stock them anywhere to get an license, can you?
They have to. They've got to be offline for cats, which is fair enough. They're getting in so many places now, and causing problems.
Where do you see the business going from here? Do you see more growth, or do you want to diversify more into different bits and pieces? What do you see the future for yourself?
There's still a bit more growth. Well, my son's just off to Sparshot, doing his degree, so he's the future of that.
Wow,
I'm kind of looking forward to relaxing at some point. Just sort of easing back a bit.
Nice.
But the company's been expanding, since I started. Like I say, I've sort of done it all. I've never had any financial backing or funding, so everything has sort of just built as I've gone along. Every penny I've ever made has just gone back into the business. So I'm hoping one day I might get some of that back at some point.
Oh, no. You don't have the temptation to go back to ornamentals and that sort of thing?
I do miss certain aspects of it. I mean, my shop was quite big. I had 7 members of staff, and we were busy. Turned over lots of money. And probably didn't make a massive amount of profit, but it was, I enjoyed I miss going to Japan. Japan was amazing. I used to go 3 or 4 times a year. And, just buying the koi. I miss that side of it. I don't miss sort of dealing with the general public on a daily basis. And all the stress of that. I prefer to be wandering around the fish farm than being in a busy shop with the phone ringing every 30 seconds. And
I can imagine. But I hate to put a negative topic into the podcast, but if there's do you see like naivety of fisheries being taken advantage of by fish suppliers? Like, you supply F1s, and you obviously, as fisheries, do you have to educate them before they go, right, I want, because F1s are generally overstocked for the competition market?
I don't supply F1.
Oh, do you? I thought I saw them on your website.
They might have been on the website. I was going to do them at one point.
Okay. That might be what it was then.
But I don't supply F1s. I just do true crucians and things. So,
because that's, I guess, as more and more people come into farming carp and coarse fish, not so much coarse fish, I think more people are brought into farming carp. Obviously, they can be quite easy to farm in some scenarios. And I just wonder if people are going to get desperate to sell their fish and move their fish and sort of take advantage of those fisheries that are perhaps a bit naive to what they've already got, and maybe taking a sale over what they actually need. And how do you find that balance? And
I think you've just got to be honest with people, and this, bad news travels fast. If you give bad advice, they're not going to, you're not going to have return custom, are you? So it's much better to just be honest with people and say, that's too many fish. You shouldn't be putting that many in there, or so I always try and find out what the stock level is. I mean, I don't supply many match fisheries with carp. Our carp tend to go more to clubs and syndicates and things. We don't produce a lot of smaller fish for the match sort of industry. There's companies out there that are producing, like say, a lot of F1s or a lot of smaller fish for those purposes. I always try and just grow mine as quickly and as big as I can, so they get past that kind of match fishery size quite quickly.
Okay.
But it's always best to be honest with people. Absolutely, I think people that they don't last long, and it's such a small industry.
It's just, it seems like a little bit of a whirlwind out there, especially with social media, and everyone's got a voice, and I can see how it can be quite confusing as a consumer with a fishery that's perhaps not so clued up on what's what. If you're looking out into social media, it must be just such a confusing world to be in. And I think that's as well, when you said about being honest with the client, if you can get that in writing, that look, this is, if you do that, this is what will happen, so then that they've got it on record that you've given your honest advice. And I think it must be such a confusing world to be on the other side of. We're lucky enough to work in the industry and have a bit of an idea of what's what, but those that are perhaps invested in fisheries, seeing that there's an opportunity or have an asset of water, it must be quite confusing with all that goes on forums and the bun fight that's happening on social media. And everyone seems to, it almost seems, as well as people operating in the business, it almost seems like we're the ones arguing amongst ourselves, aren't we? Rather than so we're not helping the consumer by bickering between ourselves and, he said this, he said that. And it just seems a little bit of, maybe it's not unique to our industry. I'm sure it's across every industry, but I can see how being honest with people, and must be quite refreshing, and how you get those customers that have been with you for all these years and have become very loyal to you. So I think there's some good stuff in that. But Arron, I know you're very busy and you've got your harvest to start planning, and I think you're trying to squeeze a holiday in before that, aren't you? So,
holiday tomorrow.
Very nice. So thank you very much for taking the time to come and chat with me and tell us all about your business, and hopefully we'll see some more of you on social media now. Now you've had a little taste of it.
I'm not great on social media, but I'm trying.
Get after it. But yes, good luck for the harvest and have a lovely holiday. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.